Want to garden like an environmentalist? Here are some tips to get you started. My name is Nika Linn. I'm a botanist, a CSU alumni, and the founder of Shea Flora Houseplant Company. For 5 years, I've been teaching people about some of the science behind keeping plants. This summer, I'm working with CSU's College of Natural Sciences Amplify Learning Community on their community garden, which I'm sitting in right now. So I thought I'd share some tips on how you can get started on your own. Tip number 1, consider adding ground cover in the form of mulch, dry leaves, or straw to your garden or pot in order to reduce erosion and protect your soil from evaporation. Watering your plants in the evening or early morning can also prevent water from evaporating in the hot part of the day. Tip 2, build soil health by not over-tilling, keeping your soil covered, and by planting nitrogen-fixing cover crops such as clover. This is more relevant in larger gardens, but you can still practice it on a small scale. Tip 3, plant Colorado native wildflowers such as penstemon, blue flax, or prairie coneflower, which provide habitat for local pollinators. They are also lower maintenance once established. Water regularly in the first few years to make sure that you've got a good root system and that your perennials will come back year after year. Tip 4. Once your plants have flowered and been pollinated, it's possible that you can collect seeds. Harvest them once they've dried on the plant and put them in a clean envelope or jar. You can store them in a cool, dry place until next season. Saving seeds not only makes gardening cheap, but can also preserve genetic diversity and allow communities to share plants that work well in their climate. Tip 5. Weeds are just plant species that are adapted to disturbance, so the less you disturb your soil and the more desirable plants you plant, the less weeds you'll see. If you're just starting your garden, focus on removing fast-growing annual species like grasses. Removing perennial weeds like bindweed and dandelion can prove more difficult, but pulling by hand in the early spring is your best bet.
It's a little bit late to be doing this. Some of these plants are already so big, but we're still gonna do it and plant some new plants so next year's better.
Tip 6. Plants use water and light to make their food and can't use one without the other. Figure out where your plant grows in nature and try to replicate those conditions as closely as possible. If you're not sure what kind of plant you have, Google Lens works fairly well to identify them. You can also ask me.
Cornflower!
Bonus tip, if you don't have space for a garden, keeping houseplants is a great way to connect with nature and learn the basics of horticulture. Some plants, like cacti and succulents, will want lots of light throughout the day, whereas others, like snake plants and pothos, can survive in lower light. As a general note, no plants love low light. Some can just tolerate it better than others. Have questions? Feel free to reach out to @SheaFlora on Instagram. I'm happy to help. Good luck and happy gardening!